What's going on, main characters? It's your boy Talks Too Much with Third Party Studios. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to be talking about Disney. There's been reports that Disney has been hiding their DEI initiatives ever since culture has kind of swayed the opposite direction, and they've been forced to make changes. So we are going to be talking about that and all the history of Disney saying one thing, doing another. We're going to be breaking it down for you in today's video. With all that out of the way, let's jump right in. Hold on, intro. It's intro time. Shush, everyone shut up. Let's get into our next story. We are covering Disney. Earlier this week, Disney removes diversity from criteria determining manager pay. Latest DEI overhaul suggests major shift, but leaves questions unanswered. My biggest question unanswered is this confession to what they did to Gina Carano? I suppose this is like for hire or for manager pay, and for, because this digs deeper. It goes into like their hiring practices. It goes into their pay structure, but it also kind of pretty much is a self-own on the, oh yeah, we definitely discriminate against people. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Based on all sorts of shit.
Yeah. I don't think they're actually going to change anything. I think they're saying they're going to. Like, I think Bob Iger said, like, we're not going to step away from messaging. We're just going to make it less noticeable.
Right. Disney, so the story goes on, Disney is making another round of changes to its diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, stripping away some of the most controversial elements while maintaining a commitment to what it calls company values.
Exactly.
So, and actually, this is
just not going to be more visible.
Well, when Trump came into office, so this seems to be in response to like the culture during the election, and it ties back to politics, and it's Disney having feeling like they have to say the right thing. So, but like we knew that like bigger companies weren't abandoning DEI as an idea or as like a practice. They were changing its names. Like they were just camouflaging what it was structurally. They weren't organizing behind the same category of like verbiage. They were changing up how they were talking about it, what they were calling it. That's the kind of thing they were changing. It wasn't necessarily like you didn't change all of these mind virus infected people inside of like middle management at Disney and get them to change their mind. Like that didn't happen.
What I don't get, okay, so these people are just, they're supposed to be money men.
That's the hope.
They don't they don't give a fuck about the product they're producing or anything. They're just money men. They don't watch the shit they create, nothing like that. How profitable was DEI before this election? To where they're like, we got to get on it because we get that cheese, bro.
Well, so my understanding about,
I mean, it was funded by the government for a while.
Well, it was funded by the government, but so the one part of this that I think most people don't remember is that BlackRock and Vanguard pushed those initiatives onto those companies. Like BlackRock and Vanguard has not been something I've discussed with people colloquially, like in just normal conversation, for several months now. And I think people are like forgetting how important they are to this conversation when it comes to like the money Disney gets. They have like a stock portfolio that BlackRock is heavily invested into, and they are very much participant. Now, the BlackRock CEO had an interview last year sometime, I think, where he was talking about how Mark Cuban broke this down when he was debating with Vivek, and how basically BlackRock is held accountable to their investors from like the state level. So California has a bunch of these initiatives that in order for BlackRock to invest in California, they must meet these criterias for how they run BlackRock. And so then BlackRock has to run that way across everything. So basically still California dictating how all this investment is going across the entirety of the world. I don't know if BlackRock has lost enough money to justify their structural change, or if they would even consider dropping California as one of their investments. So, I mean, I don't know. Everything's set on fire. So now they have to, now they've invested.
Literally and figuratively.
Yeah. So I think people forget about where that brick of cash and how that's coming into the play as well. The cultural shift from the election, I think probably had, in the interview I saw for the CEO of BlackRock, he seemed actually pretty like genuine. So I mean, a CEO can fake that pretty easily, but I did get the impression that he's looking at those types of investments and reconsidering them. That was my takeaway. So I'm hoping that money starts to actually shift more towards a value in meritocracy and capitalism on that front.
Well, we got Doge cutting it all. So,
Yeah, just turn off California's money. Just no more for you.
well, I mean, he's going to do that to, what was it, Maryland or
Maine.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see how that goes, because there is, I've seen both arguments on that front, and when we start talking about politics and we talk about like Doge and everything else in it, it's such a deep conversation, and the legality of it confuses me a little bit, because I don't know. Obviously, I do believe a lot of these powers lie with the president, but then I also believe that there are processes that guide how those powers should be or are supposed to be exercised in the Constitution. So if he's wielding the power, but he's wielding it outside of the scope of what he's supposed to be doing, and he's testing legal theories with it, I would be like, total cards on the table, Joe Biden doing that, I would have a problem with it. So, I mean, that's my bias speaking. I'm only good with it because it's working so in favor of bettering the country.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a rabbit hole.
If it was destroying the country, I'd have a problem with it. But because it's good for the country, I don't have a problem with it. Yeah. See, I'm a
what we're referencing, by the way, is that basically, what is it? Public school, you can't.
Oh, it's
you can't have dudes.
It's men and female sports.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. It's the Title IX violations that Maine was doubling down on. Maine doubled down on and committed to violating Title IX.
Right.
Guaranteeing that men will be able to be in the locker room with your daughters and with your wives and with your sisters.
How'd your kids?
You get it. No, I was hoping you'd finish, because yes, that was what I was setting you up for. Because but yes, Maine said to Trump's face, "Yeah, we're just gonna see you in court over it."
I'm gonna abide by federal law, and he's like, "We are the law."
Yeah,
it's like not the greatest line.
I don't like that line, but I get it.
It's a little dictatorish, but yeah.
Well, the point is correct, but
right,
it's definitely ammo.
He is right, but
he is right.
It's all optics.
Yeah, I mean, I think the right would be like raging, blood curdling rage if Biden was saying stuff like that in real time. So I understand the outrage. You're still wrong on the merits of your argument, but I understand what you're frustrated about and what he's saying. I just think you're stupid. I just think you don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, the more rights go to the state, or the more the state is in control of, their state, I think is better. But
yeah,
when it should almost treat every state like its own country almost.
Well, I was really surprised. So obviously, a lot of the DEI stuff from federal government came through executive orders, but executive orders are just, they're not executable in the private sector, as far as I'm aware. Like, I'm not a legal scholar, but my understanding is that an executive order does not then become law. You can't, like, an executive order is only like in.
Yeah, like if I had my own volleyball league or whatever, that wouldn't change anything. That I could put dudes just spiking balls into chicks' faces
exactly
as much
as
as I want.
we want. And
but no, it's because it's federal funded, and therefore they have to abide by it.
In rec leagues, here's what I think. In recreational sports, when you have like co-ed teams, and it's like mandated that you have to have like equal, like just as many women on your team as men. Well, my thought is, what if we just had teams made up of all women and teams made up of all men, and then had them play each other? I think that's equity. Everyone's playing, everyone wins, everyone gets the like.
Know who I'm gonna put my money on?
I mean, like, yeah,
that's a win in Las Vegas anytime.
Yeah, I'll take that like 5% mark. I'll take that. I'll take those 5 points. So,
the odds though sucks. You only get like, you put in like 50 grand, and you get like $10.
Yeah, you make nothing. So in the story, we got, for years, Disney embedded DEI into nearly every aspect of its corporate strategy, from hiring practices to executive bonuses. That stance has become increasingly difficult to maintain in the face of growing opposition. And I would say that the opposition has nearly maxed, considering like how society has reacted to it. And you don't have to make the case that it's growing. The people who are unconvinced at this point. It's just a friendly reminder, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel if you are new. It is free. It's the best way to show your support and to help us grow. You can also always change your mind later. And if you haven't already, smash that like button to help us reach further out into that YouTube algorithm. Comment your thoughts on the video so far below. And if you haven't already, go check out the merch store. Links in the description. Got a lot of cool stuff in there I think you guys are really going to enjoy. With that out of the way, let's get back to the video. Are unconvincible. They cannot be convinced. They're locked in.
Oh yeah.
They'll never abandon the ideology. It's their religion.
It is a religion.
And then you have everyone else who's like,
And if you don't abide by it, you're immediately ostracized, like J.K. Rowling, where she's left 99% of the time, but she just doesn't agree in the dudes and women's sports.
Exactly.
And it's like, all right, you're not part of the religion anymore.
Yep. While Disney isn't abandoning DEI entirely, it is making those policies far less visible. Consider the following key changes. Managerial compensation no longer tied to DEI. Content.
So what, you make more money if you're gay or black? What the hell does that even mean?
What do you
like no longer tied to the compensation is no longer tied to DEI?
Yes. Okay. So previously Disney's other performance factors included diversity and inclusion as a key metric for executive bonuses alongside synergy and storytelling and creativity. I love how it's a key metric, and then you have the other, or I'm sorry, I suppose it's a key, like they have a lot of key metrics. I was taking that as a higher value. I shouldn't have. Alongside creativity, that factor has now been replaced with talent strategy, which sounds broader.
Isn't that meritocracy?
No, it sounds broader, but still includes incorporating different perspectives, a sign that DEI hasn't truly been removed, just repackaged. Yeah, so the incorporation.
So it's going exactly how I thought it would.
Yeah, it did not change anything. Content warning softened. Okay.
You know, I've heard so many stories of people that had to pretend to be gay in order to get jobs in Hollywood.
Oh, I'm doing it. Like I pretend to be gay every day.
That's how I get invited to the sleepovers.
Slumber party, sister. Sorry.
That's so weird though. It's like
I know
I gotta pretend to be gay in order to get this job.
Content warning softened. Disney Plus has quietly updated the phrasing of content advisories on classic films. Instead of stating that a movie includes negative depictions or mistreatment of peoples and cultures, the disclaimer now simply says the program is presented as originally created and may contain stereotypes or negative depictions. That's the same thing. Like they say the same thing. I don't see any different words there at all.
I hate corporate speak.
The wording change shifts the focus away from direct accusations against Disney's past films. I guess. I didn't take it that way. Employee groups rebranded. Internal employee organizations, previously called Business Employee Resource Groups, have now been renamed Belonging Employee Resource Groups.
So we can keep the letters.
Yeah. The shift in terminology suggests a move away from business-driven, identity-based initiatives and towards more general workplace community building efforts.
What the fuck does that even mean?
It's business. You wouldn't understand. It's just business. It's business.
I didn't think the whole meritocracy idea was so controversial.
Well, I was watching Piers Morgan Uncensored. I think it was yesterday. It could have been Thursday, but the in his conversation they were talking about like capitalism being far right. Like capitalism is a far right idea. I was like, I was under the impression capitalism was the middle. I thought that was pretty much the norm. It's like socialism was far left, communism was just killing people, and then the like far right would be like you basically circle back to socialism. So it's basically just the other side of the ball. It's like that was my interpretation of how capitalism worked. Because I mean,
capitalism in like its base form is merit based. It's meritocracy based.
I think you have an argument to be
so the best at what they do rise to the top. Well, the business sells the best whatever is the one that makes the most.
Laissez-faire capitalism being
that's the ideal capitalism.
Yeah, being no restrictions on it. I do see as someone who like does support capitalism, I do see an argument for anti-monopoly laws.
Yeah.
But I mean, that wouldn't be a capitalistic idea.
That wouldn't be the ideal.
No. But I mean, at the same,
it's like we got to keep it fair.
Well, because here's where you get with that, because Google is the best example of this, because Google will have their anti-competitive contracts. So Samsung makes a phone, and Google says, "Hey, we'll put Google operating system on all of your phones for 30 years," and the contract states you can't consider alternate operating systems for your device. You must have the Google Play Store on there. You can't consider alternative Play Stores or mass app purchasing.
You can't Bing shit.
You can't consider other alternatives. You can't compete. So Google's contracts are anti-competitive. So I mean, which version of competition do you like? Do you like the laissez-faire where now the companies can create anti-competitive contracts? Because the argument I hear is people say, well, then just don't use Google. It's like, I've cut Google out of every aspect of my life that I can reasonably do. I have stopped using their search engines. I never bought the Google Pixel. I don't use Google Maps. I don't use Google. I don't use Chrome.
Do you use paper maps?
No, I use I generally use DuckDuckGo's like shitty map tool. But I mean,
You're selling it pretty well.
well, it's shitty. It is bad. I mean, Google Maps is better, but I'm making a conscious effort to try to cut Google out of my life. But here's
I haven't at all. And the only reason why I'm using Bing right now is because it's the main search engine with Microsoft Edge.
Well, there you go. So here's something you might not have known. Edge runs on the Chrome engine.
What the fuck? What's the point then?
There you go. See, but that's the thing. Google is so big that they're like it's you basically have the
Google
logical
runs the world.
Well, first off, we should be if we're going to have anti-monopoly laws, we should exercise them. I mean, if we're going to have them. If you want to make the case we shouldn't have them, cool. That's not the argument I'm making. I'm saying we do have them, and they got passed, they got voted on, they got signed, they've been tested, they work mechanically, and if we're going to have them, we should use them. If we're not going to use them, they might as well just go away. But we basically, the logical conclusion of capitalism is corporatism. Like, you do have an escalation where you have the ones who win on meritocracy, and then they cripple every one of their competitors leveraging their size, such that you basically can't have a competitor to Google. Like, you know what it would take to make a Google Maps alternative right now?
A lot of satellites.
A lot of satellites, but keep in mind, Google Maps also has the car. They drive the car around the world.
Very true.
So it would take so much to fucking compete with them. I mean,
money. You need money.
Yeah.
But like, so yeah, I'm not like full blown like capitalist meritocracy all the way, because if it was and there were no monopoly laws, then we'd only have Chipotle. We wouldn't have the much better Qdoba, in my opinion.
Dude, the chat's raging right now. No,
Chipotle is gay.
Chipotle is...
Qdoba is so much better.
I love Chipotle's food. It is my favorite of all, like the Pancheros, the Qdobas, all of them. I like Chipotle's food.
You always had bad taste.
Our local customer service on our local Chipotle is horrible. They are the worst. Like, I won't go back there. They are the worst staff ever. They are shit. The manager must be like have his
so
head
they can
up his
make
ass.
the best food but have the worst staff, and that's a deal breaker.
Moving through the line at lunchtime is 40 minutes. It's 40 fucking minutes.
So much for fast food, huh?
Subway perfected the fucking like cafeteria style build your burrito. Like, Subway perfected it.
Build this sandwich artisan or whatever the fuck.
Yeah. How does it take so fucking long to make a burrito?
It's because they're always out of guac.
And their guac is pretty good too. Their chips are oversalted. So I mean, you could
Guac is also gay.
Guac, fuck you. Guac is that I will. No, it's not. First off,
I haven't had guac in like 20 years because I didn't like it the first time. My taste has probably changed, but
well, I mean, in rural North Dakota, we probably didn't have the best guacamole. I mean,
we don't have the best guac.
Avocados from Mexico.
In the very center of the continent.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, my guacamole is shit. I make terrible guacamole, but I've had authentic.
When the fuck have you made guacamole?
I made it last month when I came back from Mexico. I had like a craving for it, so I went and bought what I needed, made some. It was bad. It turned out really bad. I mean, it's a simple recipe, it seems, but then you fuck it up somehow. What is next for Disney with DEI? Well, we got a lot of reference points. We got a lot of reference points for this. So Bob Iger, Bob Chapek, Bob Iger again, they have all committed to making a change inside of their culture, to trying to improve their films. They have all done this multiple times. The examples we just read for you guys, this is what they're doing. They have not changed their ideology at all. They are just hiding it behind different language.
Yeah, I mean, Bob Iger said that blatantly, like last year or the year before.
Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, we're still going to do all the messaging. We're just going to hide it better.
Exactly.
Which is wild. You're saying the quiet part out loud.
Let me pull, we should jump into...
You know that thing you hate that I do? I'm going to keep doing it, but I'm going to be quieter about it.
Yeah.
I tell myself that everything will end up alright. Just push yourself, test yourself, figure out what you like, and find your limits, don't be rigid, always work towards a prime. Surround yourself with open minds, people can change your life. A few friends with intent can help you feel alive. Find a passion, take some action, and with a little time, just be patient, make a statement, try to enjoy your life.